Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's the IN Show, Australia's only show dedicated to innovation from Adelaide, Australia, and across the globe.
Hi, this is Troy and David. We are talking innovation, and we're about 21 episodes deep, and finally I get to talk about records, David.
Mate, well, you know, we know it's dear to your heart, and I'm a little bit concerned that this record collection is going to hit 16,000 pretty soon.
I've sold lots of records over the years, so really if I'd kept everyone I'd purchased, I'd have much more than that. But, you know, you have those moments where you turn around and you look at my record room and you start doing the maths. And I've got to tell you, what is sitting on those shelves would be worth more than my home itself.
Wow.
Did you ever have a record collection?
I did have a very, very small record collection, but what I loved about having a record was when I could go into a record store and just go through all the titles, and I'd look at the artwork, and I'd read where they were recorded and who produced them, and I got so much out of that just from the visual, physical thing. And I think that sort of sadly lacks today, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you had that experience, you really spent time with the music as well. You take a look at, you know, perhaps the way we operate now, which is, you know, we're all just consuming at such a rapid rate. I like the idea of just slowing it down a little bit, and, you know, when I look at all the records I have, you know, can I honestly listen to them all from beginning to end anymore? So it's in that moment where you first have that new record, the enormous amount that you get out of it through the connection and that sense of discovery. Well, anyway, you abandoned me, and I caught up with Sam and Eddie from Waxlyrical, the new vinyl subscription club based in Adelaide. We had a coffee at Cibo on Rundle Street, and I asked them what brought about the idea of this new startup. Was it their love of records or the sense that vinyl was making a bit of a resurgence?
It's a bit from both sides, really. Obviously, it's been something that has been successful overseas in the States, particularly, but there was never really anything in Australia. Mm-hmm. So I thought I'd try and bring it here and try and make it successful here, and that obviously stemmed from my love of vinyl and growing up on vinyl and music in general, really. So yeah, when I spoke to my parents and stuff about the idea, they spoke about CD clubs. Say you'd try it, if you didn't like it, you'd send it back. So I guess it did come from that, and that was popular back then, and vinyl's making a resurgence, and people like that retro feel of vinyl. So I thought, well, why can't it come back in the subscription format again? So that's where it came from.
Okay, so you came up with the idea, and what happened from there? Was it your idea, Sam, and then Eddie, you came into the fold, or were you both there at the initial stages?
Yeah, it was definitely my idea. I knew that I couldn't execute it by myself. So there's actually Eddie, myself, and another guy, Keith Kane, who were all partners in it. I thought about who did I know that could contribute, who could be valuable to me, probably selfishly, but that's what I thought. And Eddie and Keith were the guys, and I spoke to them, met with them, had a beer, discussed it, talked about my vision for it, and they both were wrapped with it and jumped on board in the capacity, exactly the capacity that I wanted them to. So that's...
Yeah, I got a message from Sam on Facebook on a random Tuesday asking if we could have a chat, and
ominous. Yeah,
and from there he sent me his vision of what he had planned, and then we caught up for coffee and chatted about it, and got on board and said what I could do, and we all kind of agreed that we could contribute and play off each other and that sort of thing. And that's
here we are.
How it happened. Yeah, that's how it happened.
So Eddie, what is your role?
So I'd probably take care. I started off taking care more of the website. We worked on it collaboratively, but I said, this is how we can do it, and so we just went about building it. I also helped with a lot of the Photoshop work, so the marketing, but quite often it's Sam and I both talking, bouncing ideas off each other, and then I'll execute something. He'll say yay or nay, or can we change this? I'll go back and change it, and that sort of thing. So it works really well. It's
a lot
been
of
good.
late night conversations.
Yeah.
We've discovered on the show that so many of these ideas were born over, a couple of beers or in the back shed or in, these places that, we all come up with ideas, but for some reason most of us go, that's a great idea, and never actually act on it.
Definitely.
What was it that made you go, I'm just going to do this?
It was kind of a moment where I thought, well, I've always loved music. I went to school, tried to study it. I was useless. I thought, how can I get into it? And then I felt my strengths were literally listening to music, which sounds a bit silly, but that's, I love listening to music and discovering music and going off recommendations, searching this, searching that. And I thought, well, why can't I bring that to be my day-to-day job? Why can't that be the future for me? Something that I'll love and cherish. And yeah, that's basically what happened. It was kind of like a realization moment that this is the idea, and why can't I go out there and do it and actually just do it instead of talking about it, like you say. I remember chatting to a few mates, and we were adamant we were going to start a microbrewery. And we'd all had a few beers, obviously, and we're like, no, tomorrow we are starting a microbrewery, $10,000 each. This is what it's going to be called. And then we haven't spoke about it since. But yeah, with this it was different. I was just so adamant that's what I wanted to do, and I just did it and started it, and yeah, it started now, and it's so far so good. So justifiably, it was a good decision.
So what are some of the challenges in terms of, as you're sort of building your business and, more and more people are opting in to subscribe, and I can see there's, a number of different options over, what period of time that you can subscribe. How does that work?
So basically, the longer you sign up, the cheaper it is for you, basically. So if you sign up for 1 month, it's going to cost you $55. If you sign up for 6, it's going to cost you $50 a month. But that's, it's a loyalty thing. And interestingly, we've had a couple of people interstate. Obviously when you start a business like this, the first people to support you are your friends and your family. And then it's a good buzz when you get people you've never met before in your life, especially from interstate, who sign up as well, and we've had a few sign up straight away, 6 months, faith in what's coming out after one record. So yeah, that's some buzz when that happens. I guess we've just got to keep providing the goods, and they'll keep coming.
And how do you think that you will build your customer base? Do you think it will just be as you begin to reveal your record of the month every month, and they start seeing the taste that you've developed? And actually, what informs your taste? Do your customers pass through any filter where you have a sense of what they're up for?
Yeah, I think with obviously first port of call would have been our taste. We've got to put something out there, but it's not necessarily our taste. We want, you want to please everyone, but you can't. A lot of vinyl lovers are of the same niche anyway. They're on the same, you're on the same page. You generally like similar things within a boundary. I mean, to be honest, we probably won't put out certain records, but it will be quite a spectrum of records. Yep. And that's what you want. You want to discover new things. We encourage people to not, because you can swap the records if it's not something you're into each month. But obviously we encourage people to give it a go. It might turn out to be the best album you've ever listened to, you know. So yeah, we're trying to keep it on quite a broad spectrum, but within a boundary, I guess. Yeah.
I can really relate to this, having been a DJ for 25 years, in regards to the things that I really get a buzz out of is when people in the nightclub just support you in taking them along for a ride, rather than those pesky customers. Well, the intent is there; they just want you to deliver what they want. And of course, then that doesn't necessarily take everyone else into account that's in the nightclub. But when people give themselves to you in that moment and allow you to introduce them to something they would not otherwise listen to, it seems to create this experience. And what I love about what you guys are doing is really that sense of discovery, not really knowing what's going to come in the post, and then just like you said, having the confidence and the open-mindedness just to step outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a record, one record a month, so there's still plenty of opportunity to buy records that you love and that kind of thing. And this could be maybe the odd one out and sort of expand your music taste and that kind of thing. So it's not too overwhelming or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we also, we want to coexist with record stores. Like I love nothing more than going in a record store and digging out anything, some crap from anywhere. So we want to coexist with that. We want this to be the surprise in your month, and then you choose the rest. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we'll build the random factor for you, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's the exciting part of it.
Absolutely. I really like it because, as I said, I DJ, and it's a problem because I find that I consume at such a rapid rate. I've acquired such an enormous collection, but I don't actually have the time to spend with it. And you know, I like the simplicity of, you know, just giving something a go over a month, because we all know like some things will get you immediately, and other things, I know that I'll buy a record and then I'll go, oh, why did I do this? Listen to it a year later and go, oh, I get it now.
Absolutely. I'm sure you in your 25 years have had countless people come up to you saying, oh, what's this song? I've never heard this before, this song's amazing. And it's exactly the same as that. We want people to listen to it, give it a go and think, oh, they might not enjoy it first time, second time they go, it's growing on me, and then, wow, what a record, you know?
Yeah, and I think that what you're doing too is providing an access that other people find it difficult to discover the starting point. You know, I find that when people come to me and they're inquiring about a song, either they'll ask about the song or they'll go, what do you call this music? And I personally just don't have any clear definition of what it is, so you give them, you know, the vaguest possible view you can. And then you wonder what happens from there. You know, do they go online and put that in the search engine, or do they go to the CD store or the record store and try and find a section that's titled that, and where do they go from there? And I would imagine that for average people it can be a bit overwhelming and not really knowing where to start.
Absolutely. I mean, I've met a lot of people recently who just like the idea of vinyl, who want to get into it, but like you said, there's no starting point. If you haven't been, generally it comes from your parents and your family, you know, it's hereditary. You grew up on records or CDs or whatever type of music it was. But if you didn't, then you're left to your own devices, really. So we can definitely help people, you know, start discovering and start their collection. And that's the whole point.
And where do you see this idea going? Obviously, you know, it's in its infancy at the moment, and you're sort of feeling your way. Do you have any sort of long-term vision in terms of what you want to achieve?
Having seen the success of overseas subscription businesses, we want to do it better. We're in Australia, and there's no place like Australia for music, local bands, that sort of thing. Our plan is that in the future, once we've got enough subscribers, that all our records will be exclusive, so you'll only be able to get them through ourselves. It's obviously a little bit difficult whilst the numbers are, you know, just starting to grow, but you know, that's going to make them even more collectible. There's going to be loads of like amazing colours, records that you, like I say, you can't get them anywhere else. So I think that's the end goal, just being completely exclusive, that every record we put out is an exclusive, whether it's an anniversary edition of a certain album or it's a brand new release. I think just trying to make the records as cool as possible.
When you were going through this process, was there one barrier that stands out more than others where you sort of saw it and thought, how am I going to overcome this?
I think probably the marketing and actually getting people on board, because vinyl record is a bit of a niche, and so if you can reach those people, I think, you know, there's genuine interest, but there's also a lot of the population that is probably quite happy listening to the radio or you know, just Spotify's and that sort of Apple Music, that kind of thing. And so I think penetrating the actual vinyl market is definitely something that's tough and is going to continue to be a challenge, but it's something that we're probably excited about, and that's kind of the fun thing about marketing, that you know, it's trying to get in there. So I think that will
it's different
is a challenge and will continue to be a challenge, but
it's different to walking into a store, isn't it, out here on Rundle Street, where it's busy all the time, so there's people walking past and they'll see it every day. Our challenge is we've got to get to people. So yeah, that's definitely been the biggest obstacle, and still is at the moment, but it's something we work on every day, don't we, to try and get it out there, and hopefully we'll get there.
And was there anything other than sort of the marketing side of the business where you saw a bit of a gap in your collective skill set between the three of you?
There's probably a few we'll discover, I reckon. I'm not so much so far. I think we're pretty well rounded. I mean, like I said at the start, I thought about who would be valuable to me and what skills they had. So I think I covered all the naive core bases that I thought I needed at that point. But like I say, I'm sure we'll discover some. But so far I think
probably not been as complex as some other innovations and things that I'm sure you've had on the show. So you know, like we've got our website. Sam sourced a lot of the material for record boxes to ship them out. The microfiber cloths, cleaning cloths, and we're working on getting some T-shirts and that kind of thing. And so it probably hasn't been as, I don't want to say as hard because it's always a challenge, but probably not as much involved.
I think there's always been a solution. We've always thought quickly of a solution. It's obviously been hard doing it, but we've always found a solution, I think, so far.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of those connections that you needed to have this happen, when obviously you're having to research a lot of things to get all your ducks in a line and then go, okay, we're ready to go here. Was there something that was kind of just can we just find out how to do this?
I think the subscription service was a bit challenging. We had to do a bit of research and work out exactly which one was the best, and we had a few issues with PayPal and that sort of thing. So that was a bit of a pain in the bum. We had to adapt, I guess, and we're using Stripe at the moment as a payment system, and so that was a bit of a challenge, but we did get there in the end. But it was a lot of phone calls to the website sort of help team and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was the boring part.
It became a bit tedious in the end, but we did manage to sort it out, and it's been working really well actually. So it's been good, but
worth the labour.
Yes,
I imagine that would be part of the difficulty too when you're dealing with technology. That in fact, in many regards, you're like spoiled for choice, and you get to a point where all these things start looking the same, and you just got to make one call.
Definitely a saturation in the market with a lot of things, whether it's website builders or subscription payment methods and credit card payment methods and all of it. So it's definitely. It can what is it, analysis by paralysis or paralysis through analysis or whatever, it's just too much, so definitely it does make it hard.
And what about in terms of concerns that you're dealing in physical product? I really get that people are listening in all sorts of different ways now, and it seems that vinyl's really sort of swung back into favour. Do you think this always has to be a tangible product for you with this model?
For me, vinyl is my favourite form of music. I do listen to everything else. I don't really listen to CDs anymore because they're rubbish. But it's got to be vinyl for me. I mean, it's weird because I read up a lot of stats, a lot of statistics when I was coming up with the idea, and one of the weirdest ones I found was that 7% of people who own vinyl don't actually own a record player. They just have vinyl because it's cool. It's like, you can put vinyl on a shelf, never open it, and never listen to it, and it still looks good in your whatever room in your house, your bathroom. So I think for me it will always, the main meat of the business will be the vinyl and the subscription, because at the end of the day that was the dream.
Like I say, it is cool to own vinyl, except when you need to move house, when it is the worst idea you can possibly come up with. It's terrible, particularly if you live upstairs.
Well, I moved here from the UK in 2009, and my dad must have had, he probably would have had 300-400 records, and he left them all there, so it's too hard to get them over here. Something he regrets now, but that's all right, isn't it? It's worth the effort carrying it up a few flights of stairs.
No, absolutely. In the end, after the 7 days it took to get it there in the first place. Now, before we go, what about one album or an artist who you think really put you on this track? Was there something that you heard that had you go, this is got to be my life in some way?
I don't want to give too much away because one of the albums is actually next month's record of the month.
Okay.
And that, for me, I listened to that album, and it was just like, it blew my ears off, and I thought, this is amazing. So it's a 50th anniversary edition of Otis Redding live in Europe. So that actually is a Record Store Day exclusive, which is the 27th of November. So we've been lucky enough to get hold of enough copies of that. So I actually listened to that album on Spotify, not the 50th anniversary edition, the original version. And that for me was one of the things where I thought, wow, what, I just thought this is amazing. This would sound so good on wax, and a few other ones like the Jam records, Smith's records and stuff like that. And another one, interestingly, was the Avalanche's last record. My brother bought me that for my birthday when it came out, and I put it on the turntable and played it, and it was kind of like just surrounded me, and I was just like, this is amazing. You don't get this from any other platform of music. So I think those were definitely the ones that kicked off that extra level of passion, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic. What about you, Eddie? Was there a musician or an artist, maybe it was something your family were listening to when you were growing up that stuck with you?
Not as much, to be honest. I trust Sam's taste in music a little bit more than my own. And
I feel like you've skipped out on this somehow. You've got some deep, dark secret from the past you just don't want to reveal.
It's a bit like that.
Well, my dad grew up listening to a lot of Elton John and a lot of Rod Stewart, and so I just totally rejected that and decided to go in a completely different direction. That's how I formed my taste.
No, I guess I'm probably not quite as not out there, but I'm not exposed as much as Sam to the music and that kind of thing. I'm a little bit more straight down the line.
But I suppose in many regards that must be why this works, because you can really put yourself in the shoes of the customer.
Definitely. I mean, Eddie's probably more top 40. And Keith is like your typical Michael Jackson fangirl. So between the three of us, it works quite well. There's a lot of variation in there. So I think that's the wonderful thing that will come out of it.
Fantastic. Well, I love how you are really making it so accessible to people and having them be able to sort of step into this obsession with vinyl without any fear and just trusting you to show them along the way. And who knows? They may not just subscribe to Wax Lyrical, but it'll be then it'll open a door for them to go into the record store and feel a little bit more confident.
Yeah, hopefully, definitely. I mean, that's great. Hopefully that happens for a lot of people, especially young people who are just discovering vinyl for the first time around. Hopefully we can help them out and they can go out there and have a massive collection and never move house.
Well, Sam and Eddie, thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations on the idea. All the best in the future, and I can't wait to hear how far you come in another year from now.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
For more in innovation, you can check out the InShow.online and subscribe to the In Show podcast on iTunes. Rate us 5 stars if you actually are enjoying what you're hearing.
And on Thursday, we're going to go to the world of AFL football.
Now, you have been ecstatic about this, haven't you? You've been on me like you wouldn't believe for the last 4 months, and finally you cracked me. Yeah, well, I think the first time I ever gave you a hug was when you gave me a ticket to go to the Crows and sit in your corporate box. That'd be about right. And I've been keeping my distance ever since, to be honest.
Yes. Well, Thursday we're speaking with Nick McArdle, and he's the General Manager of Strategy and Projects at the Adelaide Football Club. Now, believe it or not, they're innovating. They're leading the way in the AFL, and they're reinventing what it is to be a football club. Can't wait for that.
That was The In Show, presented by David Grice and Troy Sincock. News by Shannon Corvo and Claire Murphy. Music by Zach Grice, produced by Jason Walker. The In Show, brought to you by Adelaide Smart City Studio.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.